No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Ow, 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 ow. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Welcome to the Lithia Ford of Boise Pregame Show from Bronco Nation News, as we get you set for the latest news, insight, and analysis as game time approaches. The BNN Pregame Show is presented by Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out lithiafordboise.com to view the full inventory of vehicles, or check them out at 8853 West Fairview in Boise. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, let's head out and join BJ Rains for the Lithia Ford of Boise Pregame Show from Bronco Nation News.
Well, the Broncos have arrived here at Viejas Arena. About 45 minutes or so. The Broncos making the short 10-minute trip for a big one in the Mountain West tonight. And Pearson Carmichael, we'll see if he's getting some action tonight. Alvaro Cardenas, a veteran of this arena numerous times here. And obviously the banners hanging. Nothing better than Viejas Arena on a sold-out Saturday night. Blackout in the stands, but the Broncos are the ones going with the black uniforms tonight. Coaches dressed in black from head to toe. They're embracing the blackout tonight, even though it's blackout in the crowd, even though San Diego State going with the white uniforms tonight. But Abe Jackson joins me. We kick off the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show courtside here at Viejas Arena. Abe, we'll be hearing your call here in about 23 minutes over on 670 KBOI with Bob Ehler, part of the Bronco Radio Network in Learfield. Appreciate you for kicking off our pregame show as you do pretty much every game, and big one tonight here at Viejas.
Yeah, it is. Not only for standings, but really almost every game right now that the Broncos play, you're talking about NCAA tournaments. I mean, they keep creeping up in Ken Palm. Clemson keeps beating people, so that helps the Broncos. The last 4 games, the Broncos beat their opponents by more than what was projected, so that helped them move up even higher. So I believe they're the 3rd team in Ken Palm, and they're about, 6 or 7 spots ahead of Utah State right now. So they're making their way up, and you get a win here in this arena against San Diego State, who's projected to be in the NCAA tournament. That'll go a long way to getting you there.
Crash is wondering why on earth San Diego State would do a blackout and not wear black uniforms.
I don't know. Boise State's embracing that, though, with their black
coaches
unis.
wearing black pants,
everything.
black polos as well. So, not sure why San Diego State had a blackout and then decided to wear white, but Boise State will certainly take it. We do give you a live look here. This is our view right behind the Boise State bench. Going to be a nice chance. You hear it every game over where you're at, but it'd be nice for me to hear what some of the coaches say and players and things sitting right behind the bench here. But that first meeting with San Diego State, Abe, Boise State gave up 15 offensive rebounds. They gave up 21 second chance points. how important for Boise State is it going to be to control the glass tonight?
Well, it's what makes the Broncos win, and it's what makes the Broncos lose is when it comes down to rebounding. And Coach Rice pretty much says it almost every single interview with Bob. When Bob asks him the keys, he says rebounding, and it's that is key. Because when you're not playing that great, it's a way to still control the game, is getting those, especially defensive rebounds. The Broncos got out-rebounded by 10 last time that these two teams met. And also Tyson Degenhardt and Cardenas might have had their worst games of the season, but they were still right there. Cardenas hit a 3 that tied it, and then they reviewed it and said his toe was on the line, so they made it a 1. And then San Diego State ends up winning by 8 points. But still, the Broncos were right there, getting out-rebounded by 10. Degenhardt's worst output of the season, maybe Cardenas' worst year as well, or worst game as well. And they're right there. So I like the Broncos' chances.
I remember when I was interviewing Brian Dutcher after that game, he said that was the best timeout of his career. They got a point during the timeout when they changed the call there. And yeah, that was a big call at the time. But this San Diego State team, I know some of the names aren't the 3-4 year starters that fans and media and everyone are accustomed to seeing, but they hit the transfer portal, they recruited, and they've got some big time, younger players, and obviously Miles Byrd is a star, but a different looking San Diego State team, and which is maybe why they've had a little bit of up and down, I guess, at times, even in some games.
Well, the transfer portal hit them hard. You got Micah Parrish, who probably would have been all conference, go to Ohio State. You have Lamont Butler, who would have been maybe even preseason player of the year if he was still here. He went to Kentucky. And then you have Saunders, who transferred out, would have been a big key to this, and he went to Virginia. So they were missing 3 guys from last year who would have been huge contributors. And so it's a little bit of a new faces, like you said, but they got a big guy inside, Magoon Gwath, who has shown that he is an extremely versatile 7-foot player from affecting shots inside and also not really coming off screens to hit a 3, but if you give him some space, he can knock him down.
Now, how does Boise State attack that defense? Because they are they're top 10 in the country in terms of 2-point defense. They're number 2 overall, 37% in the country in terms of field goal percentage defense. But over half the shots Boise State took in the last matchup were threes. And obviously they weren't hitting a ton of them. But with all that length, I think they're number 1 in block rate. And they're obviously a very, very strong, team defensively. How does Boise State not just settle for a lot of 3-pointers tonight?
Well, I think that you got to get Magoon Gwath out of the paint. I think that Tyson Degenhardt or whoever the other 5-man is needs to maybe play a little bit more around that 3-point line, open up the lanes for Cardenas to drive and then kick it out, because it's so hard. If you get into the paint and then all of a sudden Gwath's in there with his 7-foot height and probably longer wingspan, it's going to be really tough to finish inside. But I think what the Broncos really need to handle is the double team off of the on-ball screen. San Diego State was the first team in conference who did that to the Broncos and gave them fits. Then Colorado State did it. New Mexico did it. Utah State did it. That on-ball screen, they throw a huge trap. All the momentum from the point guard, Cardenas, goes away from the hoop. They got to find a way to get him going head down toward the hoop. That's where he's at his best.
How do you do that?
I think you might change up who sets the screen. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a smaller person. Now, you're not going to do the pick and roll that is so effective with Degenhardt, but if you get a smaller guy out there, you're not going to have a 6'8" or 7-foot guy going and double teaming your point guard. You're going to have someone that's relatively smaller that Cardenas can maybe look over the top and get rid of the ball instead of just a giant guy going and double teaming. But that being said, you're not going to have the pick and roll threat with Degenhardt, but I think you could get Cardenas to get out of that double team and then make some decisions.
Miles Byrd averaging 13.3 points per game, but he had like 24 or something in that game. How do they limit him?
Well, I mean, it's hard to beat a team when your guy gets a career high in scoring, and he hit some shots. I was talking to Ted, who does the radio for San Diego State, and he even mentioned, he said he was hitting shots that he'd never even seen him hit before, pull up threes on fast breaks. So Miles Byrd has the ability to go off for 24, but he doesn't really scare me too much as a scorer.
Yeah, his last 3 games, 3 for 9, 2 for 11, 3 for 7. So hopefully that trend continues. The one thing we know is if Boise State gets up in this game, they're not going to be able to relax, because in this building, the last 2 home games, they got down. San Diego State got down like 17 and 20 points in one of the games, just were way down and made some huge comebacks. So obviously Boise State hopes to get a nice lead, but they have to know that San Diego State is capable and at some point probably will make a big run.
Yeah, they're going to make a run, but I mean, San Diego State, for whatever reason, is probably the best second half team in the country. They were down 22 to San Jose State in the second half, came back and won. They were down 17 the next time that they played San Jose State in the second half. They came back and won. They were down double digits, I believe, to Wyoming, and then the second half got here and they ended up winning. So, and granted, those are against some teams that are at the bottom of the league. I don't know if the Broncos would squander that type of lead, but San Diego State, they rely on their defense. There's going to be, I think you could probably chalk up the Broncos going on a little bit of a scoring drought more than San Diego State going on a scoring
outburst.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because San Diego State hangs their hat on D. It could be a little bit of a garbage game, a little bit of a tough one. I don't know if you're going to see the freewheeling offense from the Broncos that we've seen in the last 4 games, just because of the talent on the defensive side by the Aztecs.
They've had some big runs, though, that have been fueled by their defense. In 3 of their last 4 games, they've had a second-half scoring run of 20-0, 18-0, and 17-0 in those comebacks. They have 11 scoring runs of at least 10-0 this year, and they're undefeated when they have at least a 10-0 run. And as you said, though, a lot of that is the defense fueling the offense.
Yeah, exactly. It is, because the defense, especially the pressure, is so tight up on the three-point line. Against San Jose State in San Jose, they had a lot of turnovers that they created that ended up easy buckets on fast breaks. So you don't have to be a great shooting team if you're getting turnovers and getting easy transition layups.
Now, Tyson Degenhart 2-1 in this building. Boise State has won 6 of the last 8 overall against San Diego State. And like I said, 2 of the last 3 here, and including last year, 79-77 in overtime. Boise State won here at Viejas. So I know it's a very tough place to play. They're the best home court winning streak in the Mountain West, in the last decade. But for at least this team, a lot of these players have some the ones that have played, Andrew Meadow last year, some of those guys have some success winning here, which has to help.
It does. It's a familiarity, and there's not that mojo kind of, what Utah State had for 16 years in a row where the Broncos lost before they finally got a win. So there's not really that mojo that this building has. And I also think this year, let's just be honest, San Diego State, I don't think is as good as they've been the last few years. I don't think they have that scorer that really kind of strikes fear in you like they have had in the past. So I like the Broncos' chances, like I said, but they're going to have to handle that pressure outside the three-point line.
Now, the show it's called the show, their student section. It's one of the more, well-known student sections in terms of Beat a Rabbit and fill in the place. And they have some very creative signs typically with them as well. And I see one over there, Leon Rice, and then it says professional something, but I can't see what it says.
I'm going to guess it says something to the effect of like complainer.
Yes, something about that.
Something
the
about
temper
that.
tantrum tracker they had at Utah State. But you saw a very clever sign.
Well, clever is one way to put it. A lot of places we go, like Utah State or at Nevada, they'll have a sign that says Boise's not a state. But I saw one here at San Diego State that said Boise's not a state. I don't know. Coming from San Diego, that's not a state either. So
Boise State's not a state.
Boise's not a state.
Yeah.
Coming from San Diego, who's San Diego State. So anyway.
But how do you, in this atmosphere, they turn the lights down when it gets close to tip-off, you get goosebumps when they turn the bass up on the music. Like, how do you, as a player, kind of try to embrace, they're embracing the blackout tonight, but how do they not let the crowd be a factor?
Well, I mean, you've played in environments like this before. This is not going to be anything new for really anybody. I mean, your main players who played either here or in other venues. So I don't really think that the crowd is going to be something that they haven't experienced before. It's not going to be as rabid as Utah State was, that's for sure.
Well, final thing, Abe, you're on the call here in about 13 minutes over on 670 KBOI with Bob Beeler. What are your keys, and how do they head for the airport with a win tonight?
I think the key is handling pressure at the three-point line. They really made it tough for the Broncos offensively with their defense, especially the trap off the on-ball screen. Handle that, and then rebounding. You got out-rebounded by 10 in the first meeting, and you were right there still to get a win.
Appreciate it, Abe. We'll be listening, and appreciate you for jumping on as always, sir.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, we'll be back in 30 seconds here on Bronco Nation News, Lithia Florida Boise pregame show.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RovePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.
All right, we are back. We are live here at Viejas Arena, the Lithia Florida Boise pregame show, getting you set for a big one in the Mountain West tonight. Boise State and San Diego State. The winner goes into a tie for third place with Colorado State, who already won today. The loser drops to fifth place in the Mountain West standings, ahead of the first place versus second place game tomorrow, Utah State and New Mexico. But blackout in the crowd. Students starting to file in. We're 45 minutes from tip-off. Going to be a lot of fun. And we go from one legend to another. Excited and thankful to have Mark Ziegler join us with the San Diego Union Tribune. Does a tremendous job covering San Diego State. Mark, appreciate you for stopping by.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, how are you? What's your kind of feeling on this matchup?
You're asking me to predict what San Diego State's going to do. I mean, this for me as a writer, this is one of the hardest seasons I've ever covered because I'm writing to get a story done right when the game ends, and usually you get a feel how a game's going. Okay, they're up 10, they're down 10, they're going to lose, they're going to win. I got no idea. They've been down, double digits big several times this year, and I started writing these doom and gloom stories, and all of a sudden they come back and win. So I have no idea. I don't think the coaches know. I don't even think the players know how they're going to play tonight. And that's the thing with the young team. They're just so unpredictable and consistent that they could look like a top 10 team tonight, and they could look like the bottom of the Mountain West.
But they've done that a lot in the same game. I mean,
in the same game.
Well, I guess there's problems that there's warning signs, I guess, in terms of they're getting down those deficits. But the flip side is they have stretches in some of these 20-0 runs here where they look like you said, one of the better teams in America.
Yeah, so the last 3 seasons, they've had one run of over 15-0. This year, they've had 4 in the last 10 games and 3 in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
It's just insanity.
And I saw they're 11-0 when they have at least a 10-0 run.
Yes.
At some point in the game.
Yes. So, but it's in that respect, it's a different team than we saw on January 4th when these teams played for the first time because they just suddenly got really inconsistent.
Yeah.
But the other difference is Magoon Gwath, who we're watching right now, warm up. He's a different guy. I mean, it's almost like they added a player. He's averaging close to a double-double in his last 4 games. And at times has been absolutely dominant. And so they have that, but other players have sort of regressed a little bit. So
yeah,
they're a different team.
I think I saw Bart Torvik. You can go to certain time periods to do the rankings, and since that game, January 4th in Boise State's the 24th ranked team at Torvik, and San Diego State's like 94th.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, on paper, the teams are kind of trending in different directions since that game. Although San Diego State's still finding a way to win, they're just maybe not winning by the margins and things they're supposed to against some of these lower teams in the league.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see like some of the bracketologists, and what do they do with them? I mean, do you just drop them out of the projected field because they're not winning by as much as they should, or do you not penalize them for just beating, but not beating by a lot teams in the bottom half of the conference? And I don't think anybody knows what to do with them. And the one thing I will say is they have a really good non-conference resume. Yeah, they have the 9th hardest strength of schedule non-conference, and they have 2 really marquee wins with Creighton and Houston, and that will carry them a long way. But if they don't win some of these games down the stretch, it's not going to matter. If you got a score prediction or a thought or a question for Mark, you can throw it in the ICCU YouTube chat. No, from the fans, not from you. I know. You can give us your score predictions, your thoughts. If you got a question for Mark in the ICCU YouTube chat. This is the Lithia Boise Pregame Show live from Viejas Arena. And we got Mark Ziegler for a few more minutes from the San Diego Union Tribune. Does a tremendous job. And I appreciate it, by the way, you moving the rain out of town before we pulled into town yesterday. I did everything I could. I was blowing and blowing and blowing. Yeah, it was really nice. Came in and got to see the sunset out on the Pacific Beach, and went out for a run out by the beach today, and had some fish tacos for lunch out there. So it's been a nice, enjoyable trip here. And 2 of the last 3 times, it's been an enjoyable trip here for Boise State, winning. Yeah. Like that segue, by the way. 2-1 in their last 3. Tyson Degenhardt's 2-1 here in his 3 games here. Last year, Max Rice, the crazy shot, the Cam Martin foul, and hitting the 2 free throws. 79-77 in overtime. The classic 42-37 game a couple years ago. Yep. But for whatever reason, Boise State's won a couple recently here, and overall, even though San Diego State won in Boise State still won 6 of the last 8. What's your take on these matchups between these 2 teams? Well, I think it's the best. Rivalry is a weird word. I don't know if you can call it a rivalry because there's not animosity. A lot of people, when you say rivalry, just assume animosity. And we've talked about this. The coaches have talked about this. It's a very, very respectful, quote-unquote, rivalry. But what I think of all the teams in the Mountain West and the games, the matchups, I think this is the best one because the games are the best. They're really, really close. They always come down to the wire. I mean, there was that one exception 2 years ago here when Boise State had a ton of injuries. Degenhardt got in foul trouble early. San Diego State played really well and just blew them out of the building. But other than that, that's a rarity in these games. They're always 1 or 2 possession games with 3 minutes to go. They're always very tactical, and both teams play at a very high level with a lot of passion, and again, respectfully. And I just think, of all the teams in the Mountain West, and this goes back to when the first few years that Boise was in the conference.
Yeah,
it wasn't the sort of the program that they are now.
Yeah,
still played great games here.
Some of the buzzer beaters and things every game. Yeah, when you say, I remember like San Diego State was ranked 5th one year and almost lost in Boise and they hit a buzzer beater or something. I mean, Dwayne Polee hit a shot up in Boise. I'll never forget
the other day. Remember Thomas Brophy in the corner right over here had a 3 to win it. It rolled all the way around and came out.
Yep.
I mean,
Nick Duncan hit a big shot down here. San Diego State had that crazy streak of leading with 5 minutes left, and Boise State's the one that ended that. Yep. So it has been a crazy kind of back and forth. And you were on the Zoom with Leon, and then you went and talked to Brian. And I know your story, I retweeted it, and hopefully folks read it. But it's an interesting dynamic how Leon kind of noticed. He looked down there, and he made a joke one time, like when we get off the plane, we look like the swimming team. We don't look like a basketball team, like they do. And so he had to change the way he recruits. And if you look, they've got more length and bigger guys now, and the physicality and the toughness. And he's credited a lot of their rise the last 4 or 5 years here in this conference to kind of emulating and copying what San Diego State's done.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the way, key piece in that is Mike Burns. And what people in Boise might not realize that Mike Burns came from USD. He was at USD, University of San Diego, which is 8 miles away, and played San Diego State every single year, was really, really close friends with the San Diego State assistant coaches and the head coach, Steve Fisher, at the time, and really learned their system, got an insight into it. And I think it really changed the way he coached defense. And you can see a lot of the similarities in not just how they teach and how they play defense, but also how they recruit to it. San Diego State, it's not just they get ordinary guys here and they teach them how to play defense. They recruit specific body types, specific skill sets. When they talk to players before they recruit them, they talk a lot about defense, and they have a sense of, are they really committed to that end of the floor? Yes or no. And if it's a no, they don't recruit them. And so I think it's I see a lot of those similarities in Boise State, and you see it on the metrics, and you see it on the floor.
Yeah, it's it's crazy, but sure enough, like the names change, the faces change, but you look up and there's San Diego State, number 10 in the country in defense, and number 2 in terms of field goal percentage defense. I mean, they just every year they find a way to find those guys you're talking about, and it's going to be a defensive, lower scoring game. Yeah, every time.
Yeah, I mean, they get guys, they like to do things like switch the 1-5 ball screen, right? Well, not every 5 can do that, and you have to have a skill set. You have to have the ability to move your feet, stay in front, all those things. And what that does is teams don't normally do that. So then when you face it, it's new and it's something different. You're not used to sort of solving that Rubik's Cube. And so that's something that, you see the same thing when teams play Boise State now, and they do some of these same things. It's just very hard for them.
And it seems like Brian Dutcher and Leon Rice, you mentioned like the rivalry is a healthy rivalry, as he's called it, but just the respect that they have for each other, known each other a long time in this league, even when, Dutch was the assistant coach here for a long time. It seems like those two guys have a good rapport, and I know that Brian Dutcher thinks a lot of Tyson Degenhart and Alvaro Cardenas.
Oh, he absolutely loves those guys. He loves basketball players. He loves guys who play hard, play the right way, don't talk, and just play. You wouldn't even have to know they were Boise State players to know that the Dutch was going to love them. Another thing too, obviously there's Chris Acker, who was on both staffs.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a little bit of some of the stuff that Boise State was doing on offense came over to San Diego State. And you see some of the same plays as well. So the similarities just run really deep through both these programs.
And he's at Santa Barbara now, correct?
Long Beach State.
Long Beach State. I knew it was somewhere up there.
In the Big West.
By the way, Burns almost got that USD job again, didn't he? Was he in the mix for that?
He was in the mix.
Yeah.
And they hired Steve Lavin, and Steve Lavin's there now, and they're struggling.
There's 3 games. There was like 3 teams staying in the hotel I was at because San Francisco is playing USD
tonight.
And then
Davis is playing.
UC Davis was playing UCS.
All 3 Division I teams in San Diego are in town and playing at home tonight.
And I think the Santa Clara women were playing one of them in town too. They were staying at the hotel.
And
so
Utah
a lot of
State women played here.
They did. They played earlier today. Boise State had to do their shoot around in the practice gym. But they came over last night, I guess, and got some shots up here. So a lot of the guys that have never played here could at least do that. By the way, you're going to get, I know you've done it before, but you're going to get quite the treat being, 5 feet from Mike Burns tonight, getting to see his antics and things on the sidelines. I mean, that's worth the price of parking by itself to be able to see Mike Burns after a missed back cut or something goes for a layup.
Yep. And that's part of, again, going back to why they're so good defensively, you have to have the right coach and it's accountability. San Diego State has its own defensive chart. It's not the stats you see in the box scores.
Yeah.
Different things that they keep and track. And if you screw something up, like you don't high hand close out or you get back cut, something like that, it shows up in the chart. It shows up in the film. You've got Dave Velasquez screaming at you, and the same thing at Boise State with Burns.
Yeah, and Boise State's got a unique thing that they do. It's kind of like that with rebounding. I mean, on every single rebound, all 5 players on the court get graded, even if they're not involved in the rebound at all, in terms of blocking their guy out, doing their thing. And Boise State comes in as the number 2 defensive rebounding team in the country, and yet gave up 15 offensive rebounds and 21 second chance points. We talked to Dutcher after that game. He said we kind of flipped the script on them and did what they usually do to us. So I know rebounding is going to be – the margin overall was San Diego State by 10, but I know the 15 offensive rebounds, the second chance points really have eaten at Boise State as they've watched the film for this. So obviously the glass is going to be a big key tonight.
Yep, 100%. 21 second chance points in that game. And when you look at, that's a huge percentage. I mean, even if you score 100 points, that's a big percentage. But it was, the game was in the 70s. And so – and that's something, it's funny because San Diego State has been harping all season about how we're not a good rebounding team. They've struggled sometimes, particularly on the defensive glass. And yet you look up, and I was looking up last night, I'm looking at the stats, I'm like, wait a minute, they're leading the Mountain West in offensive rebound percentage.
Yeah.
And so it just tells you their standards are pretty high. They're really not as bad as the coaches are making it out to be, but that's what they do to the players to kind of push them to the next level.
So how do they? I noticed over half the shots Boise State took in that game were threes, and the 2-point defense is so good from San Diego State. The blocks, they lead the country, I think, in block percentage. Like do you see that a lot where teams just settle for threes against them, or what do you think Boise State's game plan will be in terms of trying to attack the paint?
I mean, I really think you have to make a lot of threes to beat this team, And you look at like San Jose State a couple weeks ago came in here and almost did it. They were up 21, and San Diego State came back and beat them by 3. In that game, San Jose State had 21 baskets, so 15 were threes. They only had 6 2-point baskets in the whole game.
Wow.
Just like you said, they just abandoned going in there. Magoon Goth got a couple blocks, and they just kind of said, you know what, it's going to be a drive, and we're kicking it back out. And I think that's sort of the key is, can some of these guys particularly if they go double team Degenhart, right? Like they did in the first game, he's got to kick it out and they got to rotate. Can some of these guys off the bench and some of these, second and third line type scorers for Boise State knock down threes in this building? If they can, I think they're going to have success. If they can't, it gets really, really hard.
What's in terms of this conference, we wrap this up. You got San Diego State still has to go to Utah State next Saturday. You see some of the, tomorrow is Utah State, New Mexico. New Mexico and Utah State still have to go to Boise State coming up. The last 3 home games for Boise State are New Mexico, Utah State, and Colorado State. So they get the 3 teams ahead of them in the standings all at home. They're fighting for an at-large berth. They're still further down the next group out, but a win tonight would certainly help with that. I mean, this league's probably not getting 4 teams in, but overall, just what do you make of this league and the standings and how this thing could shake out come Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, right now you have 3 teams in, but I think it's going to, as we get closer and some teams start losing other teams, you could only have 2 in. And I'm telling you, New Mexico and Utah State, even though they're ahead of Boise and San Diego State, if they lose a couple games here, they're going to get knocked right back down onto that bubble, and it could be back to 2. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to be 3 teams in, and if there's a bid stealer, if one of those 3 teams doesn't win the conference tournament, the bottom team will get knocked out. It won't be like last year, where there were 5 teams in. New Mexico was a bid stealer, won the conference tournament, and they didn't knock that 15 out. I think that will happen this year. And so I think the max they'll get is 3. It's very hard to see a scenario. The scenario where they could get 4 would be if San Diego State and Boise State start knocking off Utah State and New Mexico, and you have this big glut of teams at the top.
Yeah. Well, San Diego State's got Boise State beat Clemson and they beat St. Mary's. So they actually have, even though the better win is Houston, Boise State's the only team that in the conference that has 2 top 27 KenPom wins. So they have a couple nice feathers in their cap, but they also have a quad 4 loss to Boston College too. That's hurting them. But I don't know. We'll see. I think if Boise State could win tonight, I think they can at least find a way to get back in the picture. Their last three road games are Nevada, Fresno, and Air Force. So, I mean, they've got a chance to win a lot of games down the stretch here, and we'll see. But, Mark, appreciate your time as always, man. We'll be reading 100%. You at the San Diego Union Tribune. You do a tremendous job. And yeah, I always enjoy at halftime when you get going on your story. You got your lead and everything, and I can only imagine – I think I actually tweeted out thoughts and prayers to Mark Ziegler at one point when one of those comebacks happened so quickly. But I've never seen one like the one the other day in San Jose.
4 minutes. They 17 points, 4 minutes. It was insane.
From down 17 to tie game at the first media. It was unbelievable.
So what happened was they went into the locker room. Dutcher said, "Okay, I screwed it up. I'll take blame. The offense I had you in isn't going to work. Let's change this, this, and this." They diagrammed it. It was very calm. And the coaches leave to go on the floor. And all of a sudden they turn around, there's no players. And the players stayed in the locker room and had a come to Jesus meeting, which is a weird time to have it at halftime. But they felt like, okay, this is not acceptable. And so the players come out, and there's like 30 seconds left to go before the next half. And I'm thinking, what the heck just happened? And then all of a sudden, it's tied in 4 minutes. And it's this, it's this team. And then you think, okay, they're just going to roll them, and then they don't. And now
I actually gave San Jose a lot of credit once for hanging around as long as they did after San Diego State made the run. I thought, okay, they're going to blow them out. They're going to win this. Without Deje and McClendon or whoever else was out for him, that was pretty impressive. For Tim Miles, man, give that guy give him a real roster and a real NIL situation and a real fan base. And man, I would hate to see what he could do. I'd love to see what he could do.
Yeah.
But appreciate you, Mark. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks,
Mark
man.
Ziegler with the San Diego Union Tribune. Make sure you check out his work at the San Diego Union Tribune. We got a lot to get to here on the pregame show. We want to thank a couple of our sponsors. That's not our sponsors. There we go. I hit the wrong button. We're on the pregame show here. Let's take a 30-second timeout and thank a couple of our sponsors again. Where are your score predictions? How you feeling about this game? Your thoughts on this one? Let us know. We're back in 30 seconds here from Viejas Arena in San Diego.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RovePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.
Back here live on the Lithia Ford Boise pregame show. We are at Viejas Arena in San Diego. A sellout crowd expected. It is a blackout in the crowd, everyone wearing black, and yet it's the Boise State team and coaches that'll be wearing black tonight. As I said earlier in the show, for some reason, San Diego State going with the white uniforms, even though it's a blackout in the crowd. I thought we might see Boise State show up in the white uniforms or the orange uniforms tonight or something, but I see the first San Diego State player come out in a white shorts, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then sure enough, Boise State shows up, gets off the bus, and they're all wearing the black shorts tonight. So I think that Boise State's embracing that right now. So as you can see, this is our angle here. We're in a unique spot here in San Diego. We're right behind the bench. We're like a raised seat right behind the bench. So we're going to have a great, firsthand perspective of the coaches and players talking and what's going on, and maybe even hearing into some of the talk in the timeouts and things. So super excited and thankful for the media relations staff here at San Diego for valuing the media and still giving us seats down here by the court. Jennifer has 72-68. Jennifer has 71-60. I like that one. A little more breathing room. Mike McGlish has 67-62. Uncle Spencer says, let's control the boards and get the W. As you see, San Diego State taking the court tonight. Brent Chapman says 57-52. 5 or more shot clock violations tonight. I don't know if you're talking about San Diego State or Boise State on that. Hey, we got Mr. Buchanan watching tonight. First time at the pit here for Javen Buchanan, or not the pit, Viejas Arena for Javen Buchanan. Had his first experience of the pit in New Mexico and Spectrum in Utah State, and got to be pretty surreal. I know they had some of those NAIA programs had some big crowds, but to see some of the arenas like this, it's got to be pretty surreal for a guy like Javen Buchanan and family to see the road environments and things of big-time college basketball here in the Mountain West. Creamy Cold Boise has 68-61. Jim Kearns 70-67. Nathaniel Wilder 72-61. So far we've had everybody pick Boise State here. Crash has 68-66. Kaysen going 73-67 as the score predictions roll in here on the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. Here come the Broncos taking the floor again in the black uniforms tonight with the orange trim. They'll have the Bronco logo on them. Remember the first two times these teams played, these teams were a lot different on both sides of the ball. Boise State, Tyson Degenhart, as Abe pointed out earlier, did have one of his worst games of the season. He was only 1 for 7 from the field, and 5 of those 7 attempts were three-point shots. Alvaro Cardenas was only 3 of 12 from the field for Boise State. So 4 of 19 were your two best players, Alvaro Cardenas and Tyson Degenhart, in that game. You're not going to win many games when – there goes Tyson Degenhart, no need to worry. When your two best players go 4 of 19, you're not going to win too many games. So Alvaro Cardenas had 4 turnovers in that game, fouled out, was 3 of 12 from the field, one of his worst games of the season. So you'd like to see Alvaro Cardenas and Tyson Degenhart respond and play better tonight. But in that game, Dylan Anderson started and played 9 minutes. Chris Lockett came off the bench and played 26 minutes. And Emmanuel Ugbo only played 3 minutes. So Chris Lockett and Dylan Anderson were big parts of that game, and they're not even seeing the floor right now for Boise State. So that's 26 minutes for Lockett, 9 minutes for Anderson that are going to get distributed to other players tonight. Buchanan did play 24. Bowie played 15. Stanley played 15. As I said, Ugbo only played 3. So very curious how the minutes get distributed tonight. Appreciate Todd Michael. We'll be watching everybody will hopefully be watching. We'll be live with the Jacksons postgame show. Appreciate Jacksons for their support. I know the host of our title sponsor of our postgame show, so make sure you come back and watch the postgame show. He's got 68-63. Jared's got 78-74. Ken Dick has 61-55. Watching from Tennessee, always appreciate you, Ken. 42-37 is what Dayton's got. And I know Jennifer joking, but Jennifer, you may not know this. When Boise State played San Diego State 3 years ago in this building, Boise State won the game by a score of 42-37. That is not a typo. The score that Dayton Robinson has on the screen there was the final score of the game a couple years ago. Tyson Degenhart's freshman year. Just an unbelievably ugly defense, beautiful defense, horrible offense. It was just a crazy game, but Boise State won the game 42-37. I think it'll be a little higher scoring this year, but certainly it'll be a lower scoring game than maybe some we've seen just because of the way San Diego State plays defense. Derek has 69-61. Mike says lock it like it's hot. Derek says that 42-37 game was one of his favorite games of all time. Maybe in a weird way that's the case, but that was certainly an ugly game for a lot of people. Mystery Man has 77-76. BSU wins on a last-second shot. For the heart rate of everybody involved, it might be easier if it didn't come down to literally the last-second shot there, Mystery Man, but that would be fun if it happened. As long as the last-second shot goes in. Mr. Buchanan's got a 1-point win. Sorry, I blocked the screen there. You see Rich Waltz getting his pregame going on. The game will be on CBS Sports Network tonight. Rich Waltz. And I believe the color man is – oh, they don't have it here. Oh, Darren Collison. Darren Collison is the color man tonight, the former UCLA great. Sick Modern says need a big game from Ugbo or Stanley. He's got 67-58. Boise State winning this one. You heard a lot about Mike Burns and the defensive improvement the last 4 games. Boise State has one of the best defenses in the country the last 4 games by the metrics, a top 10 defense. And the three-point defense has gotten a lot better, and the overall defense has gotten a lot better for Boise State. You see our officials taking the floor Randy Richardson, Scott Brown, and Tommy Nunez. Tommy Nunez did the game at UNLV. He's the ref that was involved bumping of Jared Calhoun, the Utah State coach. Controversial official. He was one of the officials, believe it or not, in the Malice in the Palace NBA brawl years ago. He used to be an NBA official and was one of the officials in that game. He is back to officiate this game tonight. That is Tommy Nunez. He did the UNLV game. And Scott Brown, our friend that works for the University of Idaho, believe he works for the University of Idaho in fundraising and referees Division I college basketball as a side gig. Believe somebody looked that up and told me that. And then Randy Richardson, I believe a former G League NBA ref as well. So a pretty veteran crew, all things considered, for a big-time Mountain West game here at Viejas Arena. 73-67 is the projection there. We talked about the defense, though. I want to hear from Mike Burns in just a second. But first, I do need to thank a couple of our great sponsors that make this show free of charge for the 688 of you to be watching on YouTube. RoePaint.com, our title sponsor, ROEPaint.com. All your painting needs, make sure you hit up our title sponsor, Concrete Coatings, Interior, Exterior Painting. Hit up RoePaint.com. Taco Bell. Rain's family got some Taco Bell the other day. Perfect night to grab some food before the game tonight. TacoBellWorks.com. SON Management, the Nicolason family. Appreciate their support. They are hiring, so if you're looking for a job, hit up TacoBellWorks.com. And they've got the Lux Cravings boxes, the Cantina Bowls, all kinds of great options. Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. Hit one up today. We mentioned Tyson Degenhart. Well, Idaho Central Credit Union had the Tyson Degenhart show earlier this week. Hope you checked it out, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Check them out, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. And we mentioned the Jackson's postgame show is coming up. If the Broncos can somehow get to 70 points tonight, a tough task against the San Diego State team, you can get a hot dog and a soda, and I think they've thrown a banana with the Let's Go rewards. Maybe Mr. Michael can let us know. At Jackson's. Go to Jackson's 2 days after the Broncos score 70, and you get a hot dog, a fountain drink, and a banana for $2 at Jackson's, and that'll be on Monday if the Broncos can get 70 points tonight. And don't forget, 99-cent coffee anytime, any day with the Let's Go Rewards app, and that's our friends at Jackson's who are sponsoring the postgame show. Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game, thespateam.com. Locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa, been around since 1978. Again, keep getting those score predictions in. Keep getting your predictions for the Boucher Real Estate Player of the Game, and we'll get to those here shortly as we roll along from Viejas Arena on the pregame show. So give us your thoughts on the game and your comments. But Snake River Pool and Spa, thespateam.com, whether it's a spa, whether it's a sauna, whether it's a pool table for the game room, they got you covered. Thespateam.com. If you're looking for Boise State jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, you name it, they got it at the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. The Blue and Orange Store. Order anywhere in the world online at theblueandorangestore.com, or you can order right in person at the Blue and Orange Store at the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor there next to Pro Image. And our pregame show sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, LithiaFordBoise.com. You can view their full inventory of vehicles at LithiaFordBoise.com. Brains family loving our F-150 from Lithia, and you will as well. Still some snow in the forecast for the next month or so. Make sure you have a all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive vehicle from Lithia Ford of Boise. Lithia Ford Boise, view their full inventory of vehicles online, and they got some 2024 models they got to get rid of. So make sure you check out their deals and those 2024 models they're trying to get off the lot at LithiaFordBoise.com. Ryan saying, wow, a school that lets their band play for more than 3 minutes before the game. We got 80-75. Lock it like it's hot. Put him in, Coach. D. McGlish wants to see Chris Lockett get in the game tonight. I mentioned Mike Burns, the defense. Been one of the best defensive teams in the country of late. Mike Burns joined Bronco Nation News earlier yesterday to discuss this game. So while you watch the warm-ups, let's hear Mike Burns talk about the defense. Just one quick soundbite here. Why has the defense been better the last 4 games? and down year defensively, maybe frustrating at times, but I know the last 4 games you guys have really turned it up a notch and have some of the best defensive numbers in the country the last couple of weeks here. Well, what's been the biggest difference?
Well, I mean, after the Colorado State game, we were on kind of a tight window between New Mexico and Colorado State, both road games. And we had time to come home and practice. We had a bye, and the bye couldn't have come at a better time for us because we had to get back in the gym. And in a lot of instances, it comes down to just tightening up your loose lug nuts. I mean, and that's what we had to do. The veterans in this program know what this program is built on. And, defense and rebounding are 2 things that have kind of been a pathway for our success in recent years. So we got to work on those things. And I think you can see the results statistically in the last 4 games.
Well, yes, you can. Certainly, Boise State's defense has been tremendous. We did just get our starting lineups. It'll be Degenhart, Keene, Ugbo, Cardenas, and Meadow starting for Boise State tonight. So the same starting 5 they've gone with. How much run does Ugbo get after his strong game? That'll be curious to watch and see. And then certainly I think Buchanan, again, coming off the bench, we're going to be a major factor in this game tonight. You see San Diego State warming up. This is our view tonight here on Press Row, right behind the Boise State bench. So we'll have good action here in the second half of Boise State shooting right here in front of the bench. And as I said, we'll have plenty of unique perspective hearing the coaching staff talk to the players and basically being in the huddle almost when they're here on the bench. So excited for this one. Mike Burns also talked about San Diego State and what they got to do to win this game. Again, 15 offensive rebounds, 21 second chance points for San Diego State. That obviously has to change, or Boise State will be in some trouble tonight. What Mike Burns, what's the scouting report on San Diego State, and how do they win this game? Continue this 4-game winning streak, this momentum you have, and obviously going to Viejas, where you guys have had some success recently, but certainly going to be a tough one on Saturday.
Well, it's always tough down there. I mean, it's you're talking about a great environment and an even greater team. So, and that's year in and year out. And this year is no exception to that rule. I mean, you look at some of the things that they accomplished in the non-conference. I mean, they got wins over Creighton, over Houston, the things they've done in league play. The recipe for us is always, pretty simple. And I think they probably would say the same thing. It comes down to, taking care of our ball on offense and trying to get the best shots we can. And then, defending to the best of our ability and then finishing those defensive possessions with defensive rebounds. And there's no real secrets there. In Boise, the last time we played, they were able to do that at a higher level than we were. So those are the things we'll, try to shore up. And obviously it's going to be a heck of a game and there'll be a heck of an environment. And, there's a reason that these games end up on Saturdays. The Mountain West knows how impactful they are. And so they're fun to play in and fun to coach in. And so we look forward to the opportunity.
Live look here at the student section. The show filing in for this one. It'll be sold out here in the next 12 minutes as they fill in from the top. But they've got. By the way, that's not for me. That there's a sign over there, but they've got a player named B.J. Davis in their starting lineup here. But I don't think that's for me. But you never know. I think the show does love me over there. There's a sign that says "How's this for creativity?" I don't know if you guys can see that one. We'll turn this a little bit. Oh, I just screwed it up here. Great camera work here. I'm sorry, guys. This is terrible. They have this is our house. How's this for creativity? I see on a sign. There's one. We drink potato tears. Another one. And yes, Boise is not a state. Boise is not a state. Very interesting coming from San Diego also not being a state. But they've got the signs. The show is ready to rock. They will drop the lights here in a minute, and we'll be ready for basketball here on the court of Viejas Arena as Boise State gets set. Give us your final thoughts, your final score predictions. We'll be picking our Matt Boucher Real Estate Player of the Game coming up. Boucher Real Estate Player of the Game as Boise State gets set to take on San Diego State. Boucher Real Estate, the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley, is Matt Boucher and Boucher Real Estate. Rain's family found out why that's the case. We bought and sold our home with Matt. You can as well at BoucherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, ShopRidley's.com. ShopRidley's.com. They got locations across the state of Idaho, surrounding states, Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, up in McCall. Download their Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. View their website to find a location near you at ShopRidley's.com. Transportation Compliance Service, TransCompService.com. TransCompService.com is the website. All the paperwork, DOT, everything you need to get into the trucking industry. They're ready to help you out. It's a local company helping folks all over the world at TransCompService.com. Hey, Lean Feast. LeanFeastMeridian.com is the website. LeanFeastMeridian.com. LeanFeastMeridian.com. 10,000 plus meal options, healthy eating options, whether it's chicken, steak, fish, shrimp. They got it all covered at Lean Feast. LeanFeastMeridian.com is the website. They're helping me lose some weight. They can do the same for you at LeanFeastMeridian.com. And leave us a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail on the postgame show. Speakpipe.com/BNN. If Boise State gets a big win tonight, you can leave us a voicemail on the postgame show. Speakpipe.com/BNN is the website. Speakpipe.com/BNN is the website. And it's brought to you by Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades. MySignatureRoofing.com. You can check them out at MySignatureRoofing.com. Re-roof, repairs, estimates, inspections. Love the people at Signature Roofing. You get more information, their services for all your roofing needs. Visit MySignatureRoofing.com. The lights have gone down. The music is about to start, and this is when the show really starts to give you the goosebumps here, folks. They put the lights only on the court. There are no lights in the stands right now, so the players warm up with basically spotlights on the court, and the techno starts going. The show gets up and starts cheering. They're introducing the show here now, and we got to get off the air due to constraints, but this is when it gets good. This is when you get the goosebumps, and this is when you realize why San Diego State has one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball. So huge, huge game coming up in 7 minutes over on CBS Sports Network. Switch to CBS Sports Network, watch the game, and then come on back and visit us after the game. We'll have a live post-game show, interviews with Coach Rice, players, hopefully a victorious celebration that we can go deep into the night if Boise State wins this one and you guys want to grab a Horseshoe Golden Ale or an Orange Chaos Seltzer and party deep into Saturday night if Boise State's able to get a win. So enjoy the game over on the CBS Sports Network. And again, post-game, come on back to Bronco Nation News, YouTube, Facebook, X, all your social media channels. This place is starting to rock here at Viejas Arena. They got Welcome to the Jungle. The team's getting ready to come out. This is going to be fun, folks. Enjoy the game. One of the best atmospheres in the country. Massive game for Boise State tonight in their NCAA tournament hopes. The Aztecs taking the floor. I got to get off here so I don't get in trouble from the Mountain West. We'll see you on the post-game show. The game is over on CBS Sports Network, and we will see you on the post-game show about 5 minutes after the game ends, right back here on the Bronco Nation News YouTube channel. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you guys afterwards. Follow me on Twitter at BJ Rains for stats and updates and things throughout the game, and we'll talk to you on the post-game show. Enjoy it, folks. This has been a presentation of Lithia, Florida, Boise, and our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. The Broncos taking the floor. It's basketball time here in San Diego. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you afterwards on the YouTube channels at Bronco Nation News and at BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Voucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.